Well, many thanks for staying with us. And if you're just joining us, this is This Morning on ITV. Now, live in our Lagos studio, our major attention and focus is on the current situation of femicide in Nigeria, where lately we've been seeing a lot of young women over time get killed. So just as the word explains itself, femicide is the killing of women for reasons other than their gender. But over time, the meaning has evolved. Now, it is also a widespread problem and plagues over communities, all around the world. Statistics shows that in 2024 alone, at least 133 women and girls were killed in gender-related issues. These women are mostly targeted by their own families, partners, strangers, and left to wonder if women will one day see a respite from this issue. Underreporting and different definitions of what can be classified as femicide makes it difficult to get accurate figures of femicide in Nigeria. And the most heartbreaking reported case of femicide is the one we did see earlier on social media of a particular young man who actually calls himself a gospel singer, where he killed his girlfriend and he got caught eventually. And a lot of Nigerians have been reacting to this trending conversation. Well, joining me this morning to look critically at this issue is Titi Akerijola, a lawyer. She joins me virtually this morning. Good morning, and thank you for coming on board.
Yeah, good morning, and thank you for having me.
So I would love to get your reaction on this trending story about Timile Ajayi. What was the first thing that came to your head when you heard the story?
Well, the first thing that came to my mind was that, oh, so this has happened again, and there needs to be an urgent reaction. There needs to be an urgent move by the government or the security agencies to tackle this rising crisis, because this sort of situation is what we also know as gender motivated killing. And it seems to be an emergency around it. It's an emergency. They have to create an emergency response to it. So that was my initial reaction. I said, oh, not again.
Right. So for someone who perhaps is hearing this word femicide for the first time, how would you break the word down? What does it really mean? Femicide in Nigeria.
All right. So femicide is the killing of women and girls for all different reasons. It could be maybe just domestic violence. It could be domestic violence or any other reason, but it is usually gender motivated, which means that it's targeted at women and girls. They are the target of these murderers. So femicide is basically the killing of women and children, women and girls.
And do we have laws against it in Nigeria? Do we have laws helping to curtail some of these incidents from reoccurring over and over again?
Well, unfortunately, the Nigeria Administration of Criminal Justice has not yet provided for femicide. What we have laws that prohibit and criminalize killings, murder. We have homicide cases, but we do not have femicide laws yet.
And why is that? Is it that it's not important for there to be stipulated laws? I know we have the VAP Act. Can the VAP Act also work in accordance, with this particular trend in stories?
Yeah, the VAP Act is that's the violence against persons. Well, as it is now, they have not really streamlined or focused on the killing of women and girls. What we have cases of rape, we have cases of gender-based violence, murder, and there are laws that actually criminalize this issues, these cases. we don't have we don't know why, but I think legislation has to be we have to motivate our legislators. We have to create awareness around these issues, around this particular issue, which is femicide. And I think from headway, we can see the government acting swiftly to stop this menace.
So, considering the fact that there is no law currently in Nigeria regarding femicide, what usually happens to a person who is caught in the act? So, just like the case of this young man who actually is all over the space on the line, Timile Ajayi, he has been caught. And interestingly, he doesn't even feel remorse about it. At some point, he was even acting like he was mentally derailed or something. So what would be the aftermath for persons who get to commit crimes like this? How would the victim, right, get justice eventually?
Well, as it is now, it's a homicide case, and hopefully we want to see him getting tried for murder, because he admitted to killing this woman. He admitted openly that he deliberately killed her because he felt his love for her was unrequited, and that because she was cheating on him, you know. So it's clear he has admitted that he murdered this girl in cold blood, and he's going to pay for it. And I think the law enforcement agencies have a clear-cut case, and there shouldn't be any reason why this man should not be tried and adequately punished for committing murder.
Okay, eventually we'll see how that turns out because it's an ongoing conversation at the moment. But I would love us to talk about stereotypes regarding, violence against women. Because usually when things like this happen, the first person that gets the blame most of the time is the female gender. Why do we have that always happen, really? What's with always blaming, the girls, the women, when cases like this usually occur? Well, sometimes they get to blame the girls because they were, involved in hookup. But in this case, it was not even a form of hookup whatsoever. They were clearly in a supposed relationship. So let's highlight some of the stereotypes and how we can begin to address them.
Okay, so unfortunately, we live in a society that still does not give women they do not protect women the adequate protection that women need to thrive in the society, in this environment. And Well, it's quite unfortunate that a lot of the time people try to put a reason to why these women are being murdered, and the truth is that the Constitution provides for everyone to have the right to live.
Femicide in Nigeria, breaking the violence, or breaking the silence is our major focus this morning. And I have been speaking to Titi Akeri-Jola, a lawyer who joins me virtually via Zoom this morning right here in Lagos, Nigeria. So just before that happened, we're talking about stereotypes that get clinged with this thing called femicide in Nigeria. Please go ahead.
Okay, so in order to eradicate these stereotypes that seem to have been built around women over the years, we must be able to create support groups for women. We must open the space for women to come out and speak about these issues. There must be a deliberate effort by civil society, because this is not just the government that has this task. The civil society as well must take up the task of building support groups and encouraging women to come out and speak about the problems they have, because a lot of the time women some of these victims run to the wrong people for safety, for advice, and then at the end of the day they get murdered, they get taken advantage of. So we must be able to we must ensure that women are given that feeling of safety in the society. Not that, we don't want a situation where a woman who has been abused over time, becomes silenced, that she cannot even speak. She's even ashamed to come out and say it openly that, look, I am facing abuse lover or friend,
Right. But there is,
So the woman
okay.
was able to come out and take it. Yeah.
Right, Tete, if you can hear me, talking about coming out to speak out and everything, but let's not also forget that there's another conversation regarding stigmatization. Because most times when a lot of persons come out to talk about it, they get stigmatized at the end of the day. Or maybe there's this fear of stigmatization that might actually happen. So how would that make someone come out to share the problem?
Well, it's basically by creating advocacy. You are not meant to cover up violence. You're not meant to cover up somebody who you have seen signs of having mental illness around you, and then the person is abusing you. You cannot speak because you want to be in a relationship, or you feel you are in a safe place. No, women should be allowed to express themselves. We don't have to, I mean, we shouldn't look down or stigmatize these women. We shouldn't look down on women who are coming out to speak, even if you think that they are, what do you call them now? They are women of the night or ladies of the night. I don't know
Right.
how to, or hook up, as they say. Women must, they must be given a voice, allowed to speak out, allowed, because we have a case of a gospel singer who was murdered by her husband. About, I think this story happened about 3 years ago, and it was later discovered that the man had been abusing her over time until he eventually beat her to death. So in such a situation, the woman knew that she was being abused, but did she get the right support? No. Did she have the right encouragement by the people around her, or the people whom she had spoken to, that you must leave this marriage, otherwise you'll get killed? And that was what happened. She did not leave and she got killed. So women must be allowed to speak out. They must don't stigmatize women who are going through abuse. Women are the victims here. So why should they be stigmatized?
Right. Now let's talk about the impact. First off, the emotional impact is going to have on survivors and their loved ones, and also the psychological impact as well. How would you say that it gets to eventually impact on those survivors and the loved ones? What are some of the ways it affects them?
It is important that I spoke earlier about creating advocacy around these issues, and it's very important that when people are encouraged to undergo therapy, because when you have this sort of experience and you bottle it up, it leads to further problems. But when you are encouraged to go for therapy, you see a psychologist, a health expert, mental health experts, and people who are entrusted with taking care of victims in this situation. Women should be encouraged to go seek the right help, to go seek the right medical attention. And then, of course, I talked about creating support groups, and I think there are a couple of NGOs that have this sort of that there's a couple of NGOs that have this sort of, they have this sort of programs. They have programs that are focused around women, helping them to recover from violence, from um, attacks
Right.
against their persons, against them generally. Yeah. So you must be able to seek therapy and
So,
also speak to the right people.
okay. So earlier on, you
More
did
awareness.
So earlier on, you did make mention of the fact that there are no laws currently in Nigeria regarding femicide. So what do you think could be some of the policy changes or policy making, mechanism that should be put in place to prevent future occurrence?
Well, there seems to be a conversation about mental health, and a lot of people tend to denigrate the people. They tend to describe it because we do not believe that in Africa, in Nigeria, we can be having people have mental health issues and they are not roaming about in the streets. So everyone should be able to, or girls, women, young women should be able to get the right education about mental health so that when you are with someone and you begin to notice the early signs of the earlier signs of instability, then it's a cue for you to leave that relationship. It's a cue for you to leave that space. So I think mental health advocacy is very key here. And also, punitive measures must be strictly put in place and enforced by the law enforcement agencies. We don't want to hear that somebody was caught somebody was caught who murdered someone or committed violence against a woman, and then he was let off the hook. Or sometimes people say some of these things are politically motivated, or a case of organ harvesters, and then you hear that there is a syndicate somewhere that is running a group of organ harvesters, and they are everywhere, targeting women especially, because women are always the vulnerable ones.
Now,
So we don't want
as we
to
tend
hear
to
a
wrap up the
situation
conversation because of the time, Titi Akere-Jola, I would love to have your final thoughts on all of this, especially to the men and the female as well. What would your advice be to them in 1 minute?
okay, so all right. So I advise that men should put themselves in that position that if you have a daughter or if you have a sister who is at the mercy of someone else, somewhere else as well, where you do not even have control over, how would you how do you want your sister or your daughter to be?
Okay.
How do you want her to be safe? So you must be able to create that safe place. And the mental health advocacy, women should be able to notice the earliest symptoms of mental health problems so that
Right.
you
Thank you
avoid
so
them.
much. Thank you
You
so much,
avoid people who
Titi.
are open to so
Right. Thank you
be
so much,
violent against
Titi
you, and then you create a safe
Akere-Jola, a
place
lawyer.
for
Thank you for
women.
joining us this morning to have your say on the conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Well, with everything that has been said so far, come out, speak out, and do well to stay safe. That's our bits this morning right here in Lagos.